Good evening and welcome to this March 14th, 2024 meeting of the Finance Committee. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Tonight we'll be following the published and posted agenda. And first on our agenda this evening is approval of minutes. We have two sets, one from September 28th and one from February 15th. Do I have a motion on the September 28th?
Motion to approve the September 28th minutes.
Second it.
Discussion? None. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Kathy, are you voting?
I'm abstaining
Oh,
because
okay.
I wasn't there.
At the September 28th meeting?
February 28th, I'm voting yes. September, I'm voting abstained.
There's a February 15th and September 28th, so on the motion on the table is September 28th.
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. All right, do I have a motion on the February 15th?
Motion to approve the February 15th minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay.
Abstain for me.
Abstain. Sorry, David. David abstained. All right, moving right along, we have a review of the fiscal year 25 budget for the Cemetery Commission. And with us this evening, we have our Cemetery Superintendent, David Boyle. Evening, David.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you all once again. As far as my FY25 budget this year, basically there's not a lot of change. The change you do see is in the salary end of things is basically a little bit of an increase, $3,000 for overtime. And what I'm seeing and what we're running into regularly now is later funerals. They're coming in later, and also in part due to the newspaper being closed. They close Friday afternoon. They don't reopen until Monday morning. Okay. So a lot of stuff gets pushed off. So that's the reason for that there. Other than that, on the expense side, gasoline, maintenance of those vehicle maintenance, and then the other would be ground maintenance. What I ran into this year was starting back in September, when right at Labor Day weekend we had kind of that I'd call like straight line storms and stuff. And Pine Ridge, Four Fathers, Hart Pond, this area here, we all got hit hard. All those cemeteries got hit hard. So between September 1st and the end of the year, I spent about $12,000 in tree work that needed to be done. So just a slight increase on that. But and the only other thing would be in the outlay, $5,000, and that's an increase for the continuance of the wrought iron fence project. And the reason for that is that the company that was doing it, he's retired, and I now have MassCore that's going to step in and take over the project, and they're a little bit more money. But other than that, it's the usual steps on the personnel side and so forth.
Okay.
We did, as of March 1st, we've increased pricing slightly. We do it every couple of years. It's $50, $25, but we did increase the fees. And also, with the late funerals coming in, I increased the overtime fees coming in to make up for that difference. So,
Okay. Any questions?
None.
All right, David,
okay,
thank you
great.
very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dave.
All right, moving right along, we review the fiscal year 25 budget for the Council on Aging and Senior Center. And with us this evening, we have the Human Services Director, Deborah Siriani.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for
We
being
don't
here.
have anything thanks. So we don't have anything too remarkable for our increases. We just have some longevity. We have some folks who've been with us for longer, so our longevity line on the personnel has gone up. I think that's a wonderful thing, though, because they're great people, so we're happy to keep them. We also switched our transportation manager coordinator to the general fund and moved the full-time driver position off of the general fund because the transportation coordinator is the supervisor. And so it was made more sense to have the supervisor able to get step increases where our grant-funded folks don't necessarily, only if I can make more money. So that's why we have the transportation coordinator on instead of the full-time driver now. And we're paying for well, hopefully a full-time driver out of the formula grant, or a few part-time drivers. So that's the personnel side. And then the expenses, we had some significant reductions in electricity and gas costs, thank goodness. We have our solar panels really working hard for us, and that's been great. Some energy efficiency planning, I think, helped with that on the town side. So we've seen some decreases on that side. So we were able to use the money saved on those line items to help us with our building maintenance, our water bills that went up, and our vehicle maintenance because of older vehicles. So nothing really remarkable, only 3,500 more for the whole year in expenses. So that's good.
Thank you. Any questions?
I did, I talked to Darlene just because a lot of the money that flows through the senior center is, doesn't go through this budget, but goes through various other funding mechanisms. And she tracks them all, and they were all doing well, except for, we put a little more money in the budget for Meals on Wheels. Is that correct? Because there,
Yes.
you're graciously, I guess Paul let you put a little extra money in there.
Yes, and that's everybody knows how much grocery bills go up, and our packaging and our mileage reimbursements and stuff. So yes, that's very
And
helpful.
you're also funding partial maintenance person as well in the budget? But that's
So
coming from,
we finally did get an increase in the formula grant from the state money, which is grant money that every council on aging gets, depending on what the population of their town is. It's over 60. And so because they finally caught up with the 2020 census numbers, we got an increase in our formula grant.
okay,
And because we were getting it according to the 2010 census numbers from the last, 13 years. So that finally caught up. And so I was able to hire a part-time maintenance person that I've been asking for quite a while from the town. I said, well, I can pay for it now out of my formula grant. So that's a 19-hour position. And we're able to help support the DPW and facilities departments.
so that's something different. Most of your support comes from DPW, right?
And facilities, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. They take care of the bigger things like plumbing and electricity and larger items. And now I can have someone take care of smaller maintenance items around the building under the formula grant. So that takes some pressure off of them.
Okay.
All right.
Anybody else?
Any other questions? All right. Thanks, Deb. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your time and your support.
Nice job, Dave.
Thanks for all you do.
All right, moving right along on our agenda, we have a review of the fiscal year 25 budget for the DPW, stormwater, sewer, solid waste, recycling, and facilities. And with us this evening, we have the director, Christine Clancy.
Good evening. I do have some handouts of this presentation. I can pass it along.
I'm just gonna make it easy for us. All right.
There, we'll take care of it. What she doesn't know is I don't have a shoulder.
I'll wait till everyone has a copy of it, and there might be some extra for the audience too. I sent, I think, 10 or 15 of them.
We'll get one down to you too, Pam.
I'll say,
Oh.
does Kathy have it online?
Everybody get one?
Kathy, you should have a copy of this emailed out earlier.
Wait a minute.
Anybody out there?
Dave,
Does
Dave.
anyone else want a copy?
Hold
David,
on, hold on.
David.
Sam needs one.
Well, everyone's talking.
It's all right. Thank
I
you.
thought you wanted to look on with me,
I-
Sam.
I do have copies of what you sent me.
Excellent.
I'm sorry.
Thanks, Kathy.
No, that's okay.
Thank you. So I did meet almost 2 weeks ago with Cindy and Sam, and thank you for coming down to the DPW to review the DPW budget. And the DPW is comprised of many departments and divisions. Can you hear me? Okay. Is that good?
Better.
Okay. There, it's perfect now. So I felt it necessary to put together a presentation just because there's so many divisions or areas in the budget, and just to show we do have some increases, but we have very good reasons for some of those increases. Next slide, please. So this is, when we prepare the budget, we really look at these categories here: admin and engineering, highway, snow and ice, public trees, waste and recycling collections, facilities, public buildings and parks, street lighting, sewer enterprise, so sewer and stormwater are their own enterprises. This is how the budget has been prepared in previous years, so I think it's really helpful to see how, moving forward each year, the changes that take place. Next slide, please. With this budget, we do maintain a level of service. There are increases needed to maintain that level of service. Just to go over some quick numbers, so in terms of just the DPW, that's really made up of the admin, engineering, solid waste and recycling, $9.2 million. It's about just under a 5% increase from last year. Facilities is $2.6 million, and that's actually 18% increase, but we will go over the reasons for these increases, because part of it is there's been shifting between divisions or even in other departments in the town. And then we'll talk about the sewer and stormwater enterprise fund. So sewer enterprise is $6.1 million, 8.7 increase, and then stormwater, 1.9 million, just under 2.6% increase. So in total, even though we have two enterprises, total we're looking at just under a $20 million budget, a 7.35% increase from last year. And I will, in the following slides, go over in detail all of those increased needs. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the first category is admin and engineering. This division, what we have here is total increase, 20% increase, which seems like it is a large number. But the reasons for that really is in the personnel, the salaries. What we did is we reallocated a salary from the sewer enterprise fund into engineering. We have a trench inspector that I think was established when we were building out the town for sewer. Now we do well beyond. We're not installing as much sewer right now. We're at sewer capacity, but we still have a trench and permits that come through the town. So we do a lot of anyone that's digging whether it be a water service, or electrical, anything that requires a trench. We're out there doing inspections. So we really felt it necessary to reallocate that into the engineering budget. So it doesn't really, so when you see the increase of 20%, it's really reallocation from the sewer into the engineering. Also, there was a change worth noting is we did add a line item under expenses, professional services for $15,000. And this really is to help assist with some of the professional services needs, really for surveying assistance, especially when we have to do some street acceptances. Looking at our paving plan, there are times where we have streets that weren't accepted for various reasons. One that we're actually looking at this year, we're paving Parkhurst this year, and Parkhurst is surprisingly not accepted. So we want to move forward with that, and that requires a really rigorous surveying effort that is beyond the ability, or they don't have the time. Are there any questions if there are any questions, I can wait till questions at the end, but I could also go division by division. All set? Thank you. So highway, this is, snow and ice is a separate budget, but all of our highway, very busy this is a department of about 18 staff members. 6.45% overall increase. I would say there's minor staffing adjustments, and this speaks really of the overall salary adjustments. I know our town manager, Cohen, spoke at a recent select board meeting how there was overall a salary assessment, and so there were some minor adjustments. So it really minor adjustments really across all categories, but in highway there were a couple changes that we're proposing to make. Nothing, I wouldn't call it reorganization, it was just some adjustments. And then really the other large adjustment in this highway division for next year's budget is we have the annual operating expenses for 54 Richardson Road, the PFAS remediation system. This year, I know we have a lot more work going on right now because we have to do more exploratory work. But moving forward for next year, the anticipated operating expenses are $170,000, and that really is to kind of keep the system. We have to do quarterly sampling, we have to do monthly reports to DEP. We have to do weekly check-ins on the system, as well as there's sometimes some of the media has to be swapped out. So that will be carried moving forward in the highway expense or highway budget. Are there any questions on highway?
Any questions?
Director Clancy, do we do the remediation annual, the $170,000 annual operating expense? Do we do it ourselves, or do we hire out for that?
So right now we're hiring a consultant. I mean, we really have to have it under the direction of an LSP. So we hire a consultant. We're contracting in Weston and Sampson. We did talk about maybe moving forward. We could maybe get some training to have the weekly check-ins. So we still would always have some number in here. But potentially having some of that offloaded from consultant as we move down the line. Right now the system's still new. They're still, we're still kind of it's new. We want to make sure we work out everything and it has been working well. But I think in the following year's budget, I am going to propose potentially having some internal training.
Okay, thank you.
So snow and ice, that is level funded. Fortunately, we didn't need as much as this year. You never know what type of winter you're going to have. Previously we've carried a $1.15 million budget, so I'm proposing that moving forward. We have, because we've had some lighter seasons, we have been able to really expand the brining system. So just last winter, we piloted it. This year, we had now 4 trucks. We're having a truck that I think it was in the capital budget 2 years ago, but we're finally receiving it this month. So we'll be able to use it next winter. That will be ready for brining, and then we're just one more truck that we're purchasing, or really a tank for a truck. So we'll be, by next winter, we should be ready to do the entire town. This year we did about 75% of the town, including parking lots, and that's really it's really a pre-treatment option. We are seeing some savings, and it really it's efficient in using less salt.
Questions?
The next category that we track is public trees. In previous years, if you look at the annual amount spent, 75. Actually, I just realized in here the fiscal year, but the 75,000 was what was spent last year and what was budgeted last year. We're actually right now this year projecting to have a little bit of overrun, so we are looking at moving forward carrying $90,000. Part of that has, I have a picture here from that microburst that happened in September. So sometimes when we have storms, that's a larger effort. That was part of the reason why we're running over budget this year. We do have an annual contract now. Mayor Tree Services was last year. They're just recently awarded the contract moving forward, and so we're able to use them as needed. We do have assistance from the highway department, but we really do need the assistance of an on-call tree contractor. And we also use these funds for an arborist to assess some trees as needed, trees within the right-of-way or town property. And then also if we have an opportunity for tree planting, fortunately we've looked at some other ways to do tree planting. National Grid or maybe incorporate into projects, but also we look to see if we can incorporate trees. This last fall, we did 10 trees in town, and then last spring, and there's a picture here, 18 trees at the town common. So we're looking to do maybe another 10 or 15, and that's planted by DPW in coordination with the tree committee.
Any questions?
Solid waste and recycling collection overall is just under a 5% increase. We are now in our second year contract with E.O. Harvey of a 5-year contract. As part of that 5-year contract, we see a 1.93% increase, a $46,000 increase. We also, in terms of the actual disposal, we see a 2.5% or $150,000 increase, and that's really the tipping fees at Covanta go from $97.34 a ton to $99.77 a ton. I mean, this is a category that, you know, other municipalities are struggling with. I think we're fortunate right now that we're in a 5-year contract. And just as a reminder, we do have now a Chelmsford Recycle app. I really encourage everyone to have it. If you don't, it is a great way to receive notifications about this program.
Can you just, I'm sorry, can you just explain what the tipping fee is?
So that's the contract that we have at E.O. Harvey is to collect all the trash and recycling. Even they have, you know, bulk items that they get the one a month. The tipping fee is the cost to actually dispose it. So E.O. Harvey brings it to Covanta. The cost for Covanta to really they burn it is that tipping fee.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Just a comment, I mean, the contract for 5 years is very, you know, I think done a real good job,
Yes.
whoever did that contract.
Yeah, we're fortunate to have a 5-year contract right now
That
because
is,
the prices are.
In today's environment, definitely.
All right, moving along.
Municipal facilities, what we're showing here is an overall 18% increase, and really this is mostly associated with staff. I do call it a mini reorganization. Working with the library, that Mike Harridan recently retired. He was the facilities coordinator at the library. He recently retired. That need has come over to the DPW. And so that is part of the reason we're still still working on his exact replacement, but that is worked into the budget for next year. Also in that we did some minor reorganization in the facilities group where there was a foreman really doing a lot between the operating part of the job and also capital projects. So we made him an operations manager. And then this other position that we're moving over from the library really becomes focused on procurement of projects. And in that, we took another position within and made it someone a foreman. So there was some internal promotion and then bringing that person over from the library. So in total, there isn't really too much of an ad, town-wide. There is an ad, but you see, I guess, an ad into facilities. And then it's also some adjustments in the part-time expenses or seasonal, just because based on previous needs and the needs at the parks. And also overtime, just because of all the festivals and needs that and other work order needs, that has also gone up a little bit. Some other more under the expenses. Some noteworthy increases. Vehicle repairs. A lot of the vehicles that the facilities department has are aged or aging very. You know, they were kind of hand-me-downs from other divisions. So we're seeing an increase in some of the vehicle repairs. Fortunately, there is at least one that's going before for capital replacement. Grounds maintenance increase. So for fields maintenance, when we put out those contracts, we are seeing a bit of an increase. And I think that's just typical to industry standards increases that we're seeing. Solar maintenance increase. So this is the year we're starting to see uptick in our cost to maintain solar. We're basically going to year 10. So estimated lifespan of 20 years, we're halfway through. So this is when we start to see an uptick in expenses. And then there wasn't a training budget item. I don't know, but you know we do promote training at DPW, and just wanted to make sure we have that carried in this budget in this division itself. Are there any questions?
What was the contract service, the new item?
Contract services, 40, sorry, I did not put, so that we put in there too, sorry, I did not highlight that. Contract services, similar to the professional services that we have in the engineering budget, we added that line item in here as well. We didn't really have a line item for contract services. A lot of that is to do with abatement. When we do any type of abatement as part of a project, that's where we have to hire that out. So most of that goes to abatement, and that's based on, we projected that number based on what we're using each year, really, for those contract services.
Where was that line item carried previously?
Previously, that was carried between building maintenance typically, and sometimes it was also carried in projects itself as well.
Okay. Where is the overtime tracking this year? We're budgeted for 31,000.
38,000 we're budgeted for.
No, for fiscal year for fiscal year 24, we were budgeted 31, according to this chart. And then the ask for fiscal year 25 is 38, and that's the increase, as you explained, for more festivals and stuff like that. I'm just wondering where the actual's tracking right now.
Oh,
As
right.
the previous year was 42,780.
So the 30, right, so 42, we're going to probably track closer to the 38,000.
Okay, so that number is based upon anticipation of actual for this year.
Anticipated, yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
So public buildings is really within within facilities, but it has been carried before in previous budgets. This is just to show really minor increases, 2.74%. Really, the changes are in the expenses category. Just some copier fee increases, very minor, and then cleaning contract. This building, DPW, we have a cleaning contract annually that we push out, and we anticipate. So we have seen some increases, and we anticipate that moving forward. So I think what you can see here is 42,000. So we had budgeted FY23 42, and that's based on what the current contract is.
Not much of a difference.
No.
Any questions?
So for parks, it looks like there was a significant decrease, but this is really part, I guess, so I should have clarified, in the parks, that 18% for the facilities, that parks person was reallocated into the facilities budget, so that's one more staff. So again, in net, there's really no change in the number of staff at DPW, it's just the way that reorganized and where categories fall. So here it looks like a 66% decrease, but it's really because that we put that person, so they really truly, we started aligning it last year, but we wanted to really make this switch here this year in the budget. And that really is the change. Parks is really one person, but it's really not. It's really part of facilities. So we wanted to combine them as it's not just one person. It's an effort. But our one person, Brian Skomas, does do a lot. Town Common, and then our facilities, they maintain a lot of the fields. So combining them made sense.
Would you consider moving these expenses into facilities? Over you always keep them separate? You think I'm just keeping them separate?
So we probably should show it. I think it just as we can continue in category. We can do that. We just focus on the salary, but we can definitely do that in next year's. Because I think that's the thing, as far as like diesel fuel, we don't track for that one vehicle. It should all go under facilities. It's just the way that they've been tagged for previous years. That makes sense.
Yes.
We don't have a true parks department in our town.
Yeah.
Also, there was a sensitivity when they formed the facilities combined with town and school. They wanted to track what was being allocated historically. So that's why it was, you say, why is the facilities outside of DPW's budget? It was because of that sensitivity about, was that going to work, the combined facilities? But we're probably so far along now that we should probably do that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so that's a good comment, because we were so focused on the salary, but they're all tracked, and so like example, vehicle maintenance, that really, to carry and track $3,000, that could be folded into the facilities line item.
Yeah, just save some time from like an allocation and worrying about what goes where.
Sure. And it all rolls up to our facilities manager, Matt Schweitzer, so he's the one that manages it.
Any other questions?
street lighting is tracked annually, level funded, estimated budget 92,000. If you look at the actuals for FY23, 82,000. We did put a little bit more just because we're starting to see a little bit more needs. Also, there's some of this work, because facilities are so busy, some of this work is done in overtime, so that's where some of the overtime could potentially also fall under this line item. We are tracking this because within the next 5 to 10 years, we're looking at LED townwide replacements. And the ones that were installed in 2014 only last so long. So we're waiting to see that more significant uptick. We're not seeing it yet. We probably have 5 or 10 years left. But we don't want to say, oh, next year we have to replace it. We want to plan for it. So I'm just waiting for a slight uptick, and then we'll start programming that out, whether it be 3, 4, 5 years.
Will there be a phased introduction and switching out?
Yeah, I don't think we'll do everything 1 year. We'll phase it. And I haven't planned out the phasing, but my guess is it will be phasing.
And, I mean, from suppliers, I guess there'll also be a look as to whether or not there's a cost savings of doing more rather than less.
Yeah, that all has to be evaluated.
Okay.
So that concludes everything but the 2 enterprise funds. So sewer division, they're self-funded. Overall, 8.76% increase in terms of salaries. There's really actually a reduction in salary. That's partial because of that sewer trench inspector employee that we moved into engineering. There's a retirement. There were some changes there. But really minor changes in terms of the personnel services. In terms of expenses, that's where the increases come into play. And so I had presented last year a 10-year capital improvement plan for both our pump stations, how we're finalizing the last of our pump stations, and also doing some force main assessments. We have had, I know going back a few years, the Southwell force main break. We actually just this year had a Progress Ave. It wasn't as significant, but Progress Ave. So we have to really, even though our force mains aren't that old, they're only 35 years old, they should last 70 plus years, or 50 plus at least, but 70 I hope. We're seeing areas where we need to have them inspected and plan for potentially replacement. So that contract services line item is quite a big number for next year, $649,000. And that's based on that 10-year plan. Also, we just received our bill from Lowell. We had a very, our sewer capacity from last year's up, I think it's just under 15%. We're at capacity, and that is indicative of the rainy season. We're seeing inflow in our system. We have the inflow program. We have a program to remove some infiltration. We just have ARPA approval for smoke testing in the Littleton Road area. So we're going to find it, but as our rates are up, also Lowell has a lot of work going on, so their rates went up. So that we're anticipating a $200,000 increase for next year. And we look at the same capacity and the rates. And then debt service, also the adjustments there. That is we're working on the design for Kensington. That's partially funded through the ARPA program. But the balance of that would be the $655,000 for Kensington, and then also the purchase of a flush truck for $350,000. The old flush truck is actually going to go to stormwater. They don't have one. We need one for stormwater. And they don't have one that's really sufficient for what they need. And so we would get a new one for sewer, which they're due for one as well. Are there any questions? I'm trying to think if I missed.
Yes.
Oh, grinder pump maintenance also. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Director Clancy. That was going to be my question. Does the grinder pump line item, does that include pump replacement when they fail?
Yes. Yes. So we are seeing some more pumps needed to be replaced annually. So I think we had put in for another 5 to 10 replacements. We're starting to see a small uptick in replacements.
And approximately how many do you replace annually? Just rough guess.
I have to check that number, but if it was, I can do the math.
Rough guess is fine.
150, probably 25 to 30
Okay.
a year, I'd say. 20 to 30, and we're seeing five plus more.
Okay, so that line item includes ongoing maintenance and pump replacement.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Was there any buy-in or some buy-in to the program regarding infiltration?
We're just actually starting, and so we did a whole pre-inspection program. So we sent out many mailings. We had 180 people call. Some people called and weren't really, they just said, I don't know what this is, but I want to be on the list. So we went through that list, and we're down to about 70 people where we're going through and doing the inspections. So we'll probably have an update in the next month.
And that's part of that infiltration program that you discussed?
That's part of the inflow removal.
Inflow
and
removal, yeah.
Yes. But yes, that I think we'll find some infiltration, but it's going to take. I think we have to look at the smoke testing. That other things we're looking at as well.
When is the smoke testing set to begin?
Sometime this summer. We don't have a contract out yet. Let's see. And then the only other is outlay. We carry $100,000, and that's really for another truck replacement.
Okay.
But it's not, we actually carried that last year, and we're carrying it this year as well.
Any other questions on sewer?
So stormwater is our newest division. That is enterprise division. Overall, a 2.5% or just over 2.5% increase. The reasons for increasing, really the equipment repair, that slight increase in contract services for increased catch basin cleaning disposals. We still have a volume of catch basins debris removal at Swain Road, so we're trying to clean that up and have a lot of that. Even from previous years, disposed of, and we're also the amount of volume we're taking out of catch basins has increased, and the cost of disposal has increased. So that's projected $90,000 last year, looking at $150,000 for this coming year. There is overall increase in maintenance and drainage project needs. So that's why we are also carrying, in terms of major projects, we had $100,000 last year, estimating $160,000 this year. It could honestly, this is one of our busiest divisions right now because of the unfortunate, the weather that we're experiencing. We're very fortunate that the ARPA program has funded a lot of drainage projects, but beyond that, there's still a lot of needs, and so that's why we actually inflated the number from $100,000 to $160,000. And then debt service. So debt service does come down, but it actually, the reason why I guess it still went up a little bit, or from last year, it was $294. It goes up to, debt service was $318. It goes down to $230. It would have actually been lower, but what we're looking to purchase is a camera truck. So the flush truck will come from sewer. They'll use that. It will be their own stormwater flush truck. And then the camera truck will be a new truck. And that's really, again, needed based on the needing to inspect some of the infrastructure.
Is that the sole purpose of the truck? Can it be repurposed to do other things for you, or?
It's really just going to be a camera truck, I would say. There is some flushing it can do, but it's really a camera truck. Right now, actually, we have an area, Hugo Lane, where we're trying to investigate a pipe, and we actually contracted the services out. So if we contract it out, just to inspect a section can cost $5,000 or rental for a day. There's so many times where we need it, so they'll use that truck for the next 15 years. It will get well used.
Thank you.
A lot of the funding for ARPA was for one-time projects on this, correct? Mm-hmm. Is there a concern that there'll be additional projects that aren't going to be covered once ARPA funds dry up? So
we potentially, but also I think a lot of that will come through the II program. So I think sometimes there are some drainage flooding needs. We can look at grant opportunities. So I guess we'll have to explore how we fund some of those projects. But I think some of the drainage infrastructure, some of the needs that we have, if we are doing inflow removal programs and we find, okay, we have to pick up these 5 sump pumps, it might make sense for us to install the drain line on that street to be able to get that capacity. That could potentially be tapped into sewer because it's actually very valuable to reallocate that flow from the sewer to the storm drain. So between any reserves that we have for stormwater or potentially sewer, there has to be a inflow reduction really. So right now we're just so inundated with the current projects that we're just focused on that. we have a master plan. We have 325 culverts, so there's so many needs. So there's always needs. We just have to prioritize it, look for grant opportunities, and potentially, for sewer, if there's a value to removing that inflow from the system, which I think there is.
Okay. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Well, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to review the
Thank you.
budget.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving right along. We have to review the fiscal year 25 budget for public education, government access television. Sam,
Sir.
I know Pete had talked about presenting. I don't know if he's...
Actually, no. He indicated that unless we felt that we wanted him, he would rather not.
Oh, okay.
So that's fine.
Let me pull up the budget. I know you met with him.
I did, and it's very straightforward. You got it up there?
Yep.
Okay. I did meet with Pete, and we went over the particulars of the budget. For those who don't know, PEG stands for Public Education Government. Okay, so this is the local cable TV access. Recently, they have been broadcasting, they have been uploading all of their programs to YouTube. So if you don't have access over your TV set, you can watch these things on YouTube just by Googling them. So that's very convenient, and the quality is very good. The actual budget is not a function of funding from the town tax levy. The budget is funded based on a fee or a charge that is on your cable bill. And depending upon your actual cable bill, the percentage charge varies between 2.5% to 3%. That's what you would see, and it should be a line item on your bill. You ought to be able to look at that and validate it. So that's where the funding comes from. The budget itself, there are no showstoppers here. The only thing I would call out to people who are used to looking at these budgets from a historical standpoint, and it's true of all the budgets that you're seeing, the paid time off line item starting in fiscal 24 has been discontinued, and that allocation is moved up to the salary line item. So that's why those numbers appear substantially larger. If you look at fiscal 23 to 24 and then ongoing, you'll see quite a jump. So that's just a shift of the presentation. From an accounting standpoint, they still have to keep those as separate entries, but for a budget presentation standpoint, that's what you see. There are no changes in the personnel at all, so these are fairly normal increases that you see in the salary line items due to STEP and so forth. On the expenses, really, again, actually, you're looking at a decrease year over year, so you really don't have to be terribly concerned about that. One of the things that Pete likes to point out is that he budgets very conservatively, and I think you can see that year over year, and they have accumulated a surplus fund similar to our free cash. And that is now running close to $500 million that he has. Excuse me, did I say 500?
You said $500 million. That's quite the budget.
I was looking at the federal budget earlier, so I get confused. Let me correct myself. I'm sorry. 500,000. If Pete's watching, he just had a heart attack. So,
Maybe you should have been here, Pete. I don't know.
I almost had a heart
The
attack.
last time you presented.
That's it. That's it. I can't do this. So anyway, 500,000. And he just would like to note that he will be making a request for transfer of funds out of free cash. At some point, they have to replace some equipment, computer equipment, servers and stuff. But other than that, there are no showstoppers, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. If I can't answer them, I will
Reach out to Pete.
reach out to Pete and get the answer.
Pretty good budget.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have any questions on it.
No question.
All right. Thank you, Sam.
You're welcome.
Good job.
Thank you.
Well, except for the 500 million.
Yeah, that,
So close.
I know.
All right. Next on our agenda this evening, we have a review of the fiscal year 25 budget. Actually, Regina wasn't able to be here this evening. She'll be here next week. So we'll move right along to the fiscal year 25 budget for the library. And with us this evening is Director Leslie Kimball. Good evening.
Everybody.
Pull up your
I have
presentation.
presents. It is One Book Chelmsford, time of the year.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
So we hope, thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy, you're not getting your book because you're not here in person.
I want the book. I want the book. I'm gonna swing back by the library. Save me a copy.
Don't worry, I got a copy for you. No problems at all.
Our resident book person doesn't get her book.
I know, I should have given one to you the other day. I didn't realize you weren't going to be here. So absolutely thank you to Cindy and Kathy for coming by the library. We had a great conversation and being able to go through the budget. So as you can see, as I said, One Book 2024 is here. Peter Swanson is connected to Chelmsford. His family lives here, and we're really excited that he's going to be able to come. This is a mystery thriller. I was talking to one person in the library the other day, and he said, my wife told me I had to read it. And it was the best book I read all year. So we're very, very excited about it. And the author is coming on April 28th, and we have lots of other great programming happening about mystery writing and all that stuff coming up. So we hope to see you at the library for some of those events. Next slide. I'm going to start with all the fun stuff. So we've had a great year at the library. It's really been a very exciting year, lots of new things happening. We started to do these Fix-It clinics where people come and volunteers from the town who are really, really good at stuff, teach other people how to become really, really good at that stuff. You can see there was some bike repair going on. We had people learning how to solder, everything that you could imagine. So this is an example of a lot of the community programming that we're trying to do, really bringing people together to learn things together, to discover things, to have conversations. I think, over the past few years, we all know how isolating the situation has been for a lot of people. And the library is just a great place for people to start to come together again and make those connections with neighbors, friends, and people they just don't know. We also finished up we had an AARP grant for the Tales and Trails project, and we put up several little free libraries around town. This one is at Kroll Pasture, being visited by a dinosaur, as dinosaurs love little free libraries. But these are exciting. They're filled with Indigenous books by Indigenous authors about Indigenous life here in our particular area. One interesting thing you may have seen on the rail trail over by Grist Mill, we had put a little free library there, and unfortunately got vandalized. Which can happen. A wonderful local man, Mel Cirillo, who is a welder, retired welder, called us up and said, what would you think about me replacing it with a steel library? And so he made us a steel library to put there. Believe me, it has not been vandalized. And it got painted by one of our very talented staff members so that you would not know that it was made of steel. But it's great, so we're excited about those. And really, really big news. We're thrilled that the McKay branch reopened this past year. It's been really fun doing a refresh inside. Of course, it got its entire new air filtration system, which was what it needed in order to get those doors back open. Huge thanks to the DPW for everything they did to get that project done. And we got through our 21-week lead time on the equipment. That was fun. We got it reopened. The numbers for visits are already where they were before the pandemic, and we're not quite open as many hours as we were before the pandemic. So we're really, really pleased at how the neighborhood has come back out. Of course, we'll have summer concerts, as usual, July and August. So again, this is a place where we're looking to bring that neighborhood really together, a nice central spot where people can just enjoy. It's such a beautiful old house and makes just such a charming library. So we're doing some programming there, and we're going to have outdoor movies again this fall. So September and October, we'll see you outside at McKay. And of course, the pop-up library, we had just saw a huge increase in the pop-up usage. We were able to increase our stops as well as serve just a lot more people. We were up 80% for borrowed items with the pop-up this past year, and served 2,000 people, which was a 60% increase over what we did the year before. So we feel like people are really looking forward to it, looking for it to come. We're actually getting more requests now than we can fill. People who get in touch with us and say, "Hey, can you come?" We are going to be at the Touch-A-Truck. I think Christine's gone. The Touch-A-Truck that DPW is doing on May 18th, I believe. So we were excited to be invited to that. So we'll be over there for Touch-A-Truck, which will be great. So you can see, I mean, as I said, we just really had just a wonderful year. We have so much support in the community. And it's just been so active. We see people coming through our doors. Our numbers are up. I know a lot of libraries and a lot of other organizations, going through those deep pandemic years have not seen that kind of recovery yet coming out of it. But we really are, and just seeing going beyond where we were before. So we feel like we're on a really good track. We're adding a lot of value to the community's services, and it's really fun. It's great. So we actually have a budget after all that fun stuff. The things that impact our budget are the same things as you would probably expect. Two of the things are our very direct patron service, which is our programs and events, and our books and other circulating items. Programs and events costs for programs. We've had the same budget for programs for a couple of years. Costs fiscal year 23 over fiscal year 22 were up 40%. That's for people coming and presenting, as well as the other connections. We are doing some partnerships with 3 other local libraries so that we're doing cost sharing with them, which is working out very, very well for us. And then we're so grateful to our friends of the library. You may have heard that they raised about $30,000 just at their book sales in this past year. And this year in FY24, they'll be giving us about $40,000 that we don't need to come to the town to ask for. We do have a couple of requirements that we need to meet in order to receive the state aid grant. So our books and materials, other circulating items is one of those things that we always make sure that we're coming in order to be able to meet that, and our request for that does meet that. We do meet that in part with outside funding sources. So the money we receive from the town, we supplement that in order to reach the level we need to get state aid. And so another requirement that we do need to meet is that we take the average of the last 3 years' municipal appropriations, and our budget needs to increase 2.5% over that 3-year average, which this budget that we are presenting does do. So our level service request is a 2.4% increase, which falls into line with inflation, which is truly the biggest budget driver, I think, for everybody. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions?
No questions.
I I don't think so. Leslie, thank you very much.
Right, you're
And Thank you
welcome.
to the trustees
Enjoy your book.
In the audience.
This is a nice job.
Moving right along, we have a review of the fiscal year 25 budget for the Finance Department, which includes accounting, assessors, information technology, treasury, and collection. With us this evening is our Finance Director, John Souza.
This one we're gonna rip apart.
Okay, Nancy.
Oh, you're right.
I will, yep, okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Finance
Evening.
Committee members. So this evening, I'd like to walk you through the Finance Department budget for the 4 divisions that make up the Finance Department. I will say last week, I had an opportunity to meet virtually with Anita and Cindy, and we went through the budget in detail. So in the first page, the introductory, it gives you the some of the main functions that each of these divisions handles. And then the next page has some goals coming up for the upcoming fiscal year. And then the next page shows you a staffing summary by each division. And just to highlight, so for the upcoming year, fiscal year 25, this budget is proposed to operate with the same level of full-time equivalent employees you see that we've had for the past several years, 14.4 FTEs. And then from there, we get right into the line item budget. So we'll just start, we'll go through each of these offices. So for the Treasurer Collector's Office, you'll see that the personnel budget is increasing just under $24,000. That's just under about a 6% increase. That covers steps and cost of living increase with the overall town personnel plan and upgrade to the classification system that has occurred for all departments. And I will say that we've had a little bit of transition in the office. Our longtime assistant collector departed to become a treasurer collector in another nearby community. We're pleased that a longtime employee in the office, Lauren Halloran, has been promoted to assistant collector, and we just hired a new treasury clerk, Cassandra Merrill, to fill that vacancy. So we have some new staff. I'm very confident in their abilities. In the expense budget, you see the expense budget increases about $5,600. The main reasons for that are in the contract services line. There's an increase there to cover we have a support contract for Munis for our financial software. And then also in the postage line, an increase of $2,000. As many of you know, the Postal Service, inflation has even affected the Postal Service. So a lot of our material by state law still has to be mailed out. So that will be to cover those increases in postage fees.
And that's just to cover regular postage, correct, John?
Right, that covers mailing of the 4 quarterly bills.
Yeah.
Under state law, we're still required to mail them out physically. However, if a resident, we do have a program with our online system, a resident can choose, or any taxpayer can choose to opt out and receive electronic
only
billing, but
electronically?
they have to make that decision to opt out.
And how would they do that?
They would go through the city. We have a online system through on the town website. It's called City Hall Systems, and they can select electronic bill delivery. And also, I believe they have to do that in conjunction with they pay their bills online as well. So it works better that way in conjunction.
Okay.
John, so if we didn't approve the postage, you wouldn't be able to mail
Well, actually,
Just wondering.
I knew that.
yeah,
I could see you scheming over
yeah,
there.
so, yeah.
Just a thought. Well, that took the room to a...
Yes. And actually, I should say, this actually covers, in addition, this covers a lot of department mailing. So it would not only affect me, but it would affect some other departments as well. So they wouldn't be too happy with me, but that is a good thought.
Well, in Italy, they don't send out your tax bill. The individual's responsible to go and pay it. And if you forget, then they charge you penalties.
Really?
Yep, so that's how they save on tax dollars. Actually a scheme to get more
a
money.
money maker.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're looking for cash too, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So maybe we were onto something.
So then our next office is information technology. So you may recall this is a two-person department. You'll see the personnel budget increases a little over 10,000 or just under 4%. And in the expense area, there's a small increase of like $500. I will say that you'll see a new line item budget that's broken out so we can track it a little better. It says fiber line for 10,000. I just wanted to explain. So what that is whenever new utility poles are either replaced or if there's an accident and poles are taken down and wires have to be transferred, this covers contract services to move the town's fiber optic network cables. It also is also to provide work to remove the fire department's old hardwired fire alarm system. And it's being done on an as-needed basis throughout the town. That's really, the information technology department pays for a number of, service contracts and software programs that support a number of departments. That's mainly what makes up their budget. Moving on, the next office is the assessor's office. And so in this area, I wanted to just preface this by saying that, so we're anticipating the possible retirement of 2 employees during the next fiscal year in this office. And so to prepare for that, what we did is we've upgraded the position for the assistant assessor so that person can be very closely aligned and learn many of the responsibilities of our chief assessor. And so with that position upgrade and the normal increases that you see for the steps and cost of living adjustments, that's the reason for the increase there that you see. It's a little over 55,000 or 17%. If you were to exclude the upgrade for the assistant assessor position, the personnel services budget would be going up closer to 5%.
And John, is it part of the general succession planning that's being done throughout town?
Yes, that's a great part of that because the assessor's office is really, it's a 4-person office. And so one of the things, that the town manager and I looked at is that when you have the possible retirement of 2 of those people, you want to try to plan for the future. And I will say that this is sort of a municipal specialty area. It's very difficult right now for communities to try to recruit chief assessors, assistant assessors. And I will say we recently hired a new assistant assessor. She came to us from from nearby city of Lowell, has a lot of experience. We're very excited to have her. She just joined about a week ago, joined the department. And in the expense side of the assessor's budget, you'll see a significant increase in the revaluation update, and I can explain that. It's about 63,000. So in fiscal year 26 is a recertification townwide valuation year that we have to collect all of this data and do a total townwide revaluation of all real and personal property and submit it to the Mass Department of Revenue. And it's done on a certain schedule. And so because of that, the assessor's office needs to work with contractors and accomplish all of this work really during fiscal year 25 so that it's all set to go for fiscal year 26. And so that's the reason for that increase. Also, there's a small increase of 2,000 the tax bill expense line that you see about halfway down. Now this will pique David's interest. This is the line item right here that pays for the printing and mailing of all of the quarterly real estate and personal property tax bills. And so in recent years we've seen an increase in printing costs and also postage. So that would be the line item if someone didn't want their bill that they would strike that line. But we wouldn't be able to operate financially with it. Yeah. So that's the townwide revaluation is the real reason for the higher than usual expense increase that you see in the assessor's office budget this year for fiscal year 25.
John, just as a question, I know you mentioned that there's no way to opt out for the other bills. Is there any way to opt out for the tax bills? The printing of the tax bills and having them delivered quarterly? Because the reason why I ask is because a lot of people pay through their mortgage, their tax bills. And so they're getting a copy of their tax bill, but it's being paid through escrow through their mortgage. And so getting a piece of paper quarterly may not be necessary as opposed to getting it by email.
The issue we have with that is, so we have to create the real estate and personal property tax bills kind of in pairs, if you will. So the first two of the fiscal year are preliminary or estimated. The last two are actual. Some communities in the state have gone to mailing the first and second quarter together and the third and fourth. After this many years in the office, I would say I'm not totally sold on you would save a little postage, but I can tell you, a lot of us work in this line of work, and people get confused as to which quarter to pay, whether they should pay both, or they send the wrong. Some people's quarterly bills vary between the third and fourth quarter. So, and just talking with other treasurers in other communities, it might save you a little postage, but I think operationally it will create some confusion.
A backlog and confusion. Okay.
If we're absolutely back to the wall, it's something we could look at, but I think it would create a lot of...
Just curious, yeah. Thank you.
Some have done that. And then, so then from there, we move on to the accounting office. And in the accounting office, you'll see the personnel services budget increases about $40,000 or 10% for the coming year. That is due to a contract settlement as well as steps and normal steps and cost of living increase for the employees in that office. Under the expense area, the accounting office has a pretty lean expense budget. There are two notable items I'll just highlight. First, you'll see the audit services line. That's increasing $3,000. That's for the town-wide financial audit. And this will be, FY25 is the third and final year of the current contract that we have with Clifton Larson Allen. And then the next line below that that's increasing small amount, $200, GASB 45. That's to fund the annual OPEB update that's required for our OPEB liability. And so that's really the two notable accounts in that office, in that budget. So that kind of brings you through, and then the final sheet is just the backup listing salary detail for all the employees. And that brings us through the finance department.
Any questions?
All set.
That's it. No questions.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
All right. Moving right along. We have a review of a reorganization and discussion vote. Discussion and vote. So, this was moved from our previous meeting back in February. And I'll take, as we do every year, nominations for first chair and then vice chair.
I will nominate Jim Clancy to be chair for the ensuing year.
Second.
I'll third it.
Any other nominations?
I'll move to close nominations.
Second.
Okay. Nominations are closed. I guess take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain. All right. Now I'll take a vote on the vice chair. Nominations?
I'll nominate Anita Teniti for vice chair for the ensuing term.
I second.
Any other nominations?
I move to close nominations.
Second.
All right, nominations are closed.
I suppose we should ask if you want the job, right?
You didn't ask me.
Oh, no.
We were not going to give you the option, Jim.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, abstain.
Okay, all right. All right. Next, we have a review and discussion of the status of the liaison assignments for fiscal year 25 budget review and also the warrant. Let me pull up the current. Okay. So this evening, we went through a bunch of our departments. Next week, currently, we have slated Veteran Services and the Neshoba Valley School District. I am meeting with Fire Department and Police Department tomorrow, and I'm guessing either next week or the week after they'll want to meet. So that leaves the Chelmsford Public Schools. I don't know what they're.
We're meeting on the 18th,
Okay.
and I think he was open to either of the following meetings. I don't know. Can you remember, Dave? I think he said he'd be fine.
I don't
for
remember.
next week.
I don't remember Kathy, but I would think he'd want to get it done.
Yeah.
Does
I
anybody need
think
any
he's-
help on any other, are they all done, or?
Well, we have Community Preservation Fund, so Kathy, are you gonna?
I've spoken to, I've been in communication with Linda, and she said she would be available to come March 28th. Are we still meeting on March 28th, or should
Oh,
I?
yes.
Okay. Okay, so Linda would like to come on the 28th.
Okay, so we'll say 328 for that. And then we'll see
I
what,
think the school, can we tentatively put the school down for the 21st?
we can, and then we can adjust if necessary.
Right.
All right, and then I'll just check with the chiefs tomorrow when they prefer either the 21st or the 28th.
And I'll check with the Board of Health.
Yeah, that was my next question.
Yep.
All right.
Any preference, 21st or 28th?
Probably 21st, and the reason why I say that is because if we have the 28th for, well, that's the two articles we have here. We have MBTA zoning, planning board. I know Evan's coming to give a presentation, and maybe other members that are not you.
No, is there a debate that night?
I don't know.
What's the date?
The
28th.
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, so the planning board.
Given that that's so close to the election,
Yep.
there might be one next week.
Maybe
The
that's
21st, yeah.
Okay.
For MBTA zoning, they're going to be there on the 28th. That's been the request. I've reached out to the proponents for Article 27 by email just today to see if they want to come either the 21st, the 28th, and we do have the availability of the April 11th. I'd like to avoid that if possible, but that's available. If we don't have a lot of presentations on the 28th, we could go straight into vote on the 28th. If we can do that, that would be great. And that way we don't have to worry about being in April the second week
Yes.
and making that vote and having a tight timeline for the book. Because, as you know, we don't meet the first Thursday to avoid conflict with the zoning board. So if we can do the 21st, that's great. If not the end of the world, but we'll go from there. I'll talk to both chiefs and see what's best for them. Usually their presentations are pretty quick, so I don't expect that being an issue if we have to do one on the 28th.
Good.
All right. Okay. Agenda. Let's discuss the budget hearing and Springtown meeting warrant article schedules. We sort of touched upon that just recently. Well, if we can vote on the 28th, then we'll have plenty of time to get the book together. The last possible day we could vote would be the 11th, so that the letter and the book can be circulated. But if we can give Pam some wiggle room, I'm sure.
Yeah, the 28th is much better.
Yeah, I figured. I figured you'd like that, yeah. And it gives me time to wait till the last second to get the letter done, too. So I'm not promising that I'll have it before the 11th, but, so if we can do the 28th, that's fantastic. We're required to have the book out the week before. If we get out sooner, it's easier for the printing. It's also easier to get it over to the pre-town meeting. Is that going to be held at the senior center again this year?
24th.
Yeah, I think that worked well. A little bit more space, and it's where we meet for town meeting anyway.
And the planning board to that meeting too.
Oh, yeah, then we definitely want to have the senior center for that. Perfect, okay. So, next on the agenda item is public comment. I'm not seeing any in the Zoom room and none here. No press, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. See you guys next week.